Popeyes, Chick Fil A, and KFC are some of the most popular fast food restaurants in the world known for selling chicken. However, one of these restaurants has some incredibly dark secrets they've been hiding from you. When you picture a chicken sandwich or even remotely think about it, one place that immediately comes to mind is Chick Fil A. It's even in their tagline, home of the original chicken sandwich. Their commercials are filled with smiles, laughter, and overall happy people, portraying they're a loving company who takes care of their employees and their customers. But behind the commercials, the scripts, and the cameras lies the deep, dark truth that will make you take a step back when deciding where you want to eat next. Get ready as we dive deep into the horrible truth about Chick Fil A. Let's start from the beginning. Chick Fil A was founded by Samuel Truett Cathy, born March 14th of 1921 in Eatonton, Georgia. After high school, Sam joined the U.S. Army during World War II. Upon returning, Sam opened his first business in 1946. A diner in the suburbs of Hapeville, Atlanta, called Dwarf Grill due to its small size. The diner was popular among the locals for its hospitable and cozy atmosphere, and is still in operation today. 2 years later, in 1948, Sam got married and started a family. Together, he and his wife Jeanette McNeil ran the Dwarf Grill. Several years later, in 1964, Sam and his brother Ben made a product that would change the life of him and his business entirely. That product was the chicken sandwich. After testing out hundreds of recipes, the pressure-cooked boneless chicken sandwich was just the thing people needed to fall in love with the Dwarf Grill. And that was the beginning of a new dawn in the restaurant industry for Sam Cathy. In 1967, he went on to open the first Chick Fil A restaurant in the Greenbrier Shopping Center in Atlanta. The pressure-cooked chicken sandwich's success among customers led to the further expansion of the restaurant to now having over 2,800 branches across the entire world. Since the beginning, Sam's businesses have always operated traditionally by his religious views, which makes the company employ policies like not opening on Sundays, as well as on Thanksgiving and on Christmas. For 50 years, Sam taught as a Sunday school teacher in his local church called First Baptist Church in Jonesboro, Georgia. He was loyal to his religious beliefs about God, and the Bible, he claimed, was the ultimate guide by which he lived his life. After retiring as CEO and chairman of Chick Fil A, in 2013, he handed these roles over to his son Dan Cathy, and soon passed away about a year later in 2014. Since his death, the company has been involved with several societal and business issues. One of those issues we'll be taking a look into is how their franchise model works. Chick Fil A operates a franchise model just like many other popular restaurant brands across America, and it is right to say that the franchise model they operate is not your regular franchise deal. In fact, the model is so different that it begs for a deep dive into its method of operation. Let's start with the prices. To start a McDonald's franchise, you would need a minimum of $500,000 non-borrowed personal resources to even consider you for a McDonald's franchise. The same goes for Popeyes and Sonic. In addition to the $500,000, you'd also need a net worth of over $1 million. If you wanted to start a Chick Fil A franchise, however, the amount required to pay is just $10,000. This sounds really good, almost unbelievable, but it isn't as lovely as you may think. Before you conclude that these guys have your best interest in mind, there are a few conditions you need to know about. For instance, one of them is the limitation of the franchisee from owning multiple branches. That's right, a franchisee of a Chick Fil A restaurant is not given the right to open other branches in various locations and cannot run other businesses. They don't even own the restaurant they are operating or the pieces of equipment in it. Every single thing belongs to the Chick Fil A chain. The company does cover the startup costs for the branch, taking most of the financial weight of the deal, with the requirement that the franchisee is present full-time for the day-to-day running of the place. This means the operator cannot decide to not show up for work, as they're basically like the staff at the restaurant with a fancy title. They can also get fired if they violate or breach any part of the agreement. This franchise deal limits the autonomous rights of the operator while giving hardly any room for a healthy partnership. Franchisees cannot sell or pass the restaurant on to a next of kin, and it greatly limits the amount of profit they can make since it's just one location that they're allowed to operate. This arrangement isn't sellable to investors either, as there are many things that the franchisee stands to lose. They don't own any equity in the company, nor can they receive any. Also, the franchise deal has an expiration date, requiring the operator to repeatedly renew the contract again and again over time. While the company may claim that the franchise model enables them to find trusted and competent operators who would dedicate time and attention to the proper running of the business, the franchisee's interests could be better represented in such a deal. It is simply against the very nature of the business model they claim to be running. And to crown it all, this franchise deal is one of the most challenging things to get on earth. It is literally easier getting into Harvard University than getting a franchise deal from Chick Fil A. Lots of potential franchise owners have come to realize that this deal only seems sweet on the outside, but it's really not worth it in the long run. According to many, the Chick Fil A franchise model isn't actually a franchise model. It's simply an elaborate act of buying a job. While Chick Fil A was busy selling jobs and calling it a franchise, another topic of controversy was brewing at the time, and that was their opinion on same-sex affairs. As mentioned earlier, the Chick Fil A owners have always had strong religious views and have extended those beliefs and values to their business. But they may have gone too far on some occasions, which has made many people furious, including the government. It all started when the family donated significantly to the Salvation Army and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, two companies who have taken controversial stands against homosexuality and same-sex marriage. Dan Cathy, the president of Chick Fil A, has made it known that he and his family held biblical viewpoints on marital affairs, but welcomed and loved anyone who didn't. But it seems as if they weren't being sincere in that claim. Dan spoke in an interview on the radio, saying, "We're inviting God's judgment on our nation when we shake our fist at him and say we know better than you as to what constitutes a marriage. And I pray God's mercy on our generation that has such a prideful, arrogant attitude that thinks we have the audacity to redefine what marriage is all about."
This is the first time Mr. Cathy has made any statement since the beginning of the controversy surrounding same-sex marriage and Chick Fil A.
This led to him getting backlash from tons of people across the country, including celebrities and regular citizens. This was a bold and dangerous move for a brand owner, and Dan was unapologetic about it at the time, saying he stood firm on the concept of what an original family consisted of, which, in his opinion, was a father, mother, and children. As expected, the LGBTQ community was unhappy with his remarks, and many customers didn't take it too well. The chain received so much criticism from people through social media, and several people quit patronizing their restaurants, with some going even as far as lifting placards and openly airing their disappointment at Dan. Although these activists and politicians were not too happy with Dan, others agreed with Dan's opinion and went and supported the restaurants even more, leading to increased sales during that period. The company came forward shortly after the incident on the radio. It declared diplomacy by pledging to keep off debates that had anything to do with such sensitive matters as same-sex marriage and other related topics. They concluded that such debates should be left to politicians and the government, and that the chain would not be caught in the middle of it again. This happened because they were coming under so much opposition from people in power and LGBTQ activists, with various bans and other restricting actions taken against the brand. This wasn't good for business, and they needed a way out. Diplomacy was the only thing they could rely on to get them away from being the targets of these people. They also stopped donating to several groups that they used to send their donations to that were anti-LGBTQ. It's interesting to observe one of the most successful chain restaurants in America. Despite its controversial relationship with the LGBTQ community and their unusual franchise model, Chick Fil A still manages to pull in billions of dollars every year while running their business on the principles of their religious beliefs. One franchise owner is even shaking up the 5-day work week by implementing the 3-day work week, which received over 400 applications for a single job, despite the demand of a 14-hour workday. It's clear to see that Chick Fil A isn't going anywhere, and despite the controversies in the past, they're still trying to make amends by supporting their local communities. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comment section below what you want to see next.